yeah, I guess you like my interview questions.
Right, guys. So I had to switch to YouTube because Facebook won't let me stream to YouTube because it's Jason's Zoom account. So I'm just going to quickly post that we are on YouTube instead, which is so annoying.
Would it still upload on Facebook, like through the YouTube link?
Yeah, I'll share the YouTube link and just repost up saying Facebook is being Facebook, not letting me do what I'm trying to
do. They let you rely on technology these days, and it always fails you, doesn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. I keep saying like log in via Facebook, so then I log into Facebook, and then it doesn't do anything. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I've not had much fun with it. That's all. I think when I was doing the Negroli project stuff with you, like it was just took me so long to get into the swing of it.
Such a great project. That was
fun.
Jason still does them, but I don't do the late ones now.
I feel like everyone's got their wee like working from home set up, and I'm just like, nope, never got to do that.
Yeah, it's one of the perks. Imagine though, if you had to work at home. What does old people do in my flat? Yeah, I need to tell you about something. Try and get this big ass monitor out of the way.
I did have to quarantine coming back from France for 2 weeks, and it was absolutely dire. I was just opening the window like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. It's like for you up in Glasgow, but it's baking in here. And like, I don't know why I'm wearing a black t-shirt and a black hat because I'm going to lose about 2 stone.
I would say today wasn't the best of days. It was nicer at the weekend, but it's still warm. I mean,
yeah,
for the Scots, it's still warm.
The questions have gone off. I came prepared as well, just in case. I've got some questions too.
Fantastic. All for Fiona, I hope.
Oh yeah.
This will be fun. I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to it as well. It's going to be.
Do you listen to Ball Caps and Bagpipes?
Yeah.
Good, isn't it?
It's good. It's good fun.
We make every guest sign a waiver before they come on, Matt, that they will explicitly state that they're big fans of the show.
Do you know one thing we were so surprised by was Luke's, and he was like, swearing so much. He was like, I'm really sorry, I swear all the time. I was like, do you? I was like, what? I haven't heard him swear before.
Yeah, that was actually probably the sweariest episode yet.
Honestly,
it was good, though.
It's normally you, John.
Hey, that it's probably true, actually.
I can tell my mum's watching. Is it normal we can't see anything yet? Bless.
There's usually a delay on these as well, isn't there?
Yeah, a few seconds. It's always annoying when you click into it when you've already started, and then you'll start hearing like 10 seconds ago as well, and it's just all a bit mad.
Let's see if I can see anything. No pressure, John.
Fine.
Oh, I've to put phone on flight mode. What a fool.
Oh.
Yeah, but Ball Caps and Bagpipes was one of the shows I used to listen to in the early days to try and get a structure for my show. Did you know that, John?
I did not know that. No. It's very flattering to hear. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, we're on.
Excellent.
2 people watching. I think I'm one of them.
We will be
close that down.
live just in a second. Righto.
Got my beverages ready.
Yes.
And branded mugs.
Rugby mug, rugby
Hmm.
glass.
Got a similar one, but mine's for the NFL.
Oh.
Which game is it commemorating?
Cups. It's always great to have those freebie cups.
Yeah. Which game does it commemorate?
I don't think this one commemorates a game in particular. It's in Toulouse. So they just do like cups that they use all season. So it's just got like all the players.
Oh, cool.
Like all the players from the last years, a lot of years, I think. So it's not. I'm pretty sure I got this cup like 5 years ago or something, and it's still going strong.
Yeah, my little one uses it now for his juice cup, and it's like all the outside. It's like it's peeled off. It's just been abused in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
If it wasn't a free one, you want your money back.
You're using it till you can.
Hmm.
Fiona, what's the correct pronunciation of your last name, please?
Brambley.
Brambley?
Yeah. So a mixture of Bramble and Bramley, basically.
Okay.
Easiest way to.
It's not a particularly French sounding name.
I know, yeah.
Do you have like English heritage or something?
Yeah, so my parents recently got French nationality, but I'm the only French national in the family. So
I see.
my mum's from Barhead, and
right, okay.
my dad's from just outside London. So yeah,
I see. My
proper
brother lives in
British
Barhead.
family. So that's why everyone gets confused, and they're like, "Wait, you don't have a French name? Why are you from France?"
Why are you from France?
Because my parents moved there. Gosh, probably now like 30 years ago or something.
So
Yeah.
how it works, Matt, is a man and a woman, right? When they have certain
Oh,
feelings,
wait a minute.
and then
pen and paper time again.
and then sometimes after they conceive, they go to other places and then give birth.
I didn't know if you like some funny story, like, oh, we're on a coach trip through France, and you just had to give birth there.
What say we get the show started, guys?
Sure.
I thought we're already going. I have no more questions.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ball Caps and Bagpipes, Scottish Baseball Podcast. I am John McKellar of Ball Caps and Bagpipes, a member of the Glasgow Comets Baseball Club. My normal podcast partner, Jason Dare, is not here this afternoon. He is busy with other family commitments, so I've drafted in a guest co-host for tonight only, British Baseball Podcast, Matt Button. Say hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Great to have you on board, Matt. Thank you so much for joining me at such short notice. We're going to have a good hour of chat here, I think. Not much Scottish baseball to talk about this week. There were two postponements. Both Glasgow teams are out of action. We'll get into that in just a tick. There was one game that took place, and it was the Edinburgh Diamond Devils trip to Tayport. The Tayport Breakers start the season 0-2 after another heavy victory for the Devils. It ended 16-1. So it looks like Sylvan's team are for real this year. They've started 2-0 and have scored a combined 28 runs over 2 games, which, considering the contraction to 7-inning games, is quite something. We will discuss that in a bit more detail shortly. But first, let's introduce our very special guest tonight. We have Glasgow Galaxy's Fiona Bramley. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us, Fiona. We're going to talk. Yeah, we're going to talk to you about your baseball journey shortly, and in particular last weekend where you had a bit of a milestone game. So we'll get into that in a bit. Let's talk more though about you first off, Matt. Why don't you give the audience who might not know about your podcast a wee bit of an overview of where you come from and what you do?
Yeah, sure. I'm Matthew. I do a little show called the British Baseball Podcast, which was inspired by a journey in 2019 to the Manchester Baseball Club, where me and my little boy went to watch the MLB London series. And then as soon as we got there to the car park, we were really well taken care of and made a fuss over. They had like a ball in my little boy's hand playing catch for him and talking to me and playing. And I was really overwhelmed by it, and it was just a great occasion. And that's when I got bitten by the bug. Decided to stop watching and started playing, and I've not looked back since. And the show came about by wanting to share stories from people within the British baseball community and their stories and adventures within the game. And yes, been over a year and a bit now, but planning episode 100 and then wondering what to do next after that because we're running out of ideas.
Episode 101 would be a good place to start.
Yeah. hit reset and start again.
Yeah,
What's
exactly.
the big celebration for it?
I've got one or two ideas. The GB national team skipper Drew Spencer had a thing called Grateful to the Game, where he was asking players what they were grateful to the game for. So I'm thinking of asking people that I've met along the way and the British baseball community in general what they're grateful to the game for, and just having like a nice little compilation of just people within the community and what baseball means to them.
Fantastic. So we are here again to talk about this past weekend. Not a whole lot to talk about, just the one game. The reason for that is that following last Sunday's opening derby between the Glasgow Comets and Glasgow Galaxy, there was a COVID positive in the Glasgow camp. So that meant that everyone on both sides had to test, and a couple of people had to isolate, and it meant that our game against the Edinburgh Cannons, the Comets game against the Cannons in Edinburgh, was postponed, and the Glasgow Galaxy were due to host the Gannett City Oilers, I believe, this past Sunday. That game also off, so both teams will have to make that game up over the course of the year. The only game that survived, of course, as we've mentioned, the 16-1 victory for the Devils over the Tayport Breakers. Now, the Breakers, Matt, are in their first Baseball Scotland National League season. They've started 0-2. However, the effort that they've put in and the club that they built around that beautiful field that they've put together, I think it's only a matter of time before they'll start to hit their stride and we'll start to see them play their best baseball. They played the Comets and Galaxy this past autumn in friendlies. I don't know if you were there, Fiona.
No, I didn't make it.
I don't think you did make that. But they've showed some flashes of good baseball, good fundamentals in particular. And Jason West has a good head for the vision that he has in mind. I think that they're going to come good and they'll be all right.
They've also got Marina that's joined them as well, so that'll be a great asset.
Absolutely, yeah. Marina, probably the most talented female player in Scotland, I think. Certainly, I think you have a unique perspective on that. I think she's probably a leader among women in the sport, and definitely a trailblazer, and someone that you guys probably look up to quite a bit for guidance.
Totally.
And just generally as a role model. So it's going to be interesting to see Marina hit her stride in Tayport colours. She did very well for the Aberdeen Express 2 seasons ago, or last season, whatever you want to put it. It seems so long ago. That it can only be a matter of time before they start to click. They've got too much talent. And just again, like a surprise scoreline for the Devils. They, I think have been written off a wee bit. Due to, they've got a lot of people who've left. They've got a lot of guys who are quite a bit older. Sylvan has been a fixture of Scottish baseball as long as I've been around, and they still have a core of people who've been around for just forever. And it seems like their team chemistry is seeing them through, and their offense seems to be quite potent this year. And they're definitely one to look out for.
I know. They were saying that in the chat, but we've got nothing to fear.
That's confidence.
I love the confidence. Yeah. So that's the only game we have to discuss. I don't have a whole lot of in-depth stats or stories from that game. All I know is that it ended 16-1, taking the Devils to 2-0. Obviously, first place at the moment. Tayport Breakers lose their second straight. And just the Devils are going to be a team to look out for and see just how far they can go this year. They've surprised us so far, scoring 28 runs in 2 games. Certainly last week was a big upset. The Cannons had been touted as a favourite and they got smashed 12-0 in the opening day game. So, I mean, is it onwards and upwards from here for the Devils, or will they be figured out? This is going to be an interesting story out east. Let's move on to our guest this evening, Fiona Brambley of the Glasgow Galaxy. You've been with us a couple of years now.
If that?
Yeah.
Early, but yeah.
Yeah, you joined the Glasgow Galaxy, I think, middle of the 2018 season or 2019 season?
Yeah, I joined in August 2019.
Yep, so toward the end of last season, really. So you've only really been active for about a half season, if that.
Yeah.
When you take into consideration the pandemic and everything.
I know.
Let's start where we usually do here, Fiona, and go back to kind of the start of your journey. We've talked before about how you are a native of France. You said just before we started properly that you're sort of half British and a third French.
Yeah,
So,
just to make it confusing.
in a weird sort of way. Why don't you tell us about your background first off and how you ended up in Scotland?
So, as I was saying, my mum's from Scotland and my dad's from just outside London. They moved over to France like 30 years ago or something, so I was born there. Pretty much grew up in France for my whole life until after school. I just decided, don't really know what I want to do after school. Just going to take a wee gap year, so just decided to visit different unis, and I just fell in love with Glasgow, really. So I found myself a wee course that I wanted to do, and then I got accepted, and then that was me. 2014, moved to Glasgow. So I've been here nearly kind of 7 years now. So it's flown by, absolutely flown by. But don't regret it 1 second. I absolutely love Glasgow, and I mean the people are just amazing. So see if one thing could be just a wee bit better is the sun. Could we just please get more sun? That'd be great. First person, like as soon as it rains at Chin, I'm like, oh.
You know what? I actually remember you being quite grumpy when it's rained at games before. You just kind of fold into a wee chair somewhere under a tent.
100%. But no, moved to Glasgow for uni and then decided to stay. Got myself a job here, so taking full advantage of my opportunity. So yeah, just loving it.
Fantastic. Now, have you always been a baseball fan? Did you play baseball back home?
No. So I have played basketball for a long time. I started basketball when I was 10, and I played it until I started playing baseball. I still kind of play it a wee bit, just like runs and stuff like that, but not as a club. So that's when I joined baseball, to just have like a club to kind of feel involved in and part of. So but yeah, basketball was my sport originally.
Excellent. How long did you...
Oh, sorry, John. Go.
After you.
I was just gonna say, how did you stumble then across the Galaxy? Like it.
So the Galaxy or baseball, because I knew of baseball before. So I kind of got involved. So it's such a funny story. I was like 16 years old. And my mum was like, oh, you can't do nothing this summer. You need to find something to do. You got to keep yourself busy, because we probably didn't have any holidays planned or like further on in the year. And we kind of drove past this baseball pitch in Toulouse, but we'd never really seen people there. But they had all these flyers. It's like a European qualifier for the under-17s. We're looking for volunteers. And we were like, oh, let's just have a wee look into that. So it was like an under-17 qualifier to qualify for the under-18s Euros that was happening in like 2013 or 2012 or something. So I just messaged him saying like, I'd be keen to come and help out. I don't really know anything about baseball, but I'm happy to come and help and just like learn the sport. And that's how I kind of stumbled into baseball. Just like seeing this random tournament of under-18s. So there was actually like the British team was there as well. So one of the player, Jordan Edwards, that plays for the London Mets, he knows Jason Stott. So I'm like, this is such a small world, it's mad. So yeah, I got to know a lot of people in there. And then the funny story about how I come across the Glasgow team is I was in Tesco one day and I seen Jacob from the Galaxy, and he was in Tesco, right? And all my pals think I'm absolutely mad to have done this. But so he was in his full baseball gear, had a baseball bat sticking out his bag. And then I just go up to him and I was like, excuse me, do you play baseball? And he says, yeah, why? And I says, oh, well, I would love to come to one of your games or like even try out or something. Like, what's your address and stuff? He was like, oh, like just look on like Glasgow Baseball Association on Facebook and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, thanks. And my pal turned around to me and was like, Fiona, I know he looks like a baseball player, but imagine he got that baseball bat out and battered you in the middle of the shop. I was like, but he looks like a baseball player. It's fine. And then they're like, remember it's Glasgow. I was like, well, turns out it was Jacob, so it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, you probably could never have, you couldn't have hoped to bump into a better one than Jake. He's such a lovely guy. He was the first ever guest on Ball Caps and Bagpipes, and I just absolutely adore getting a chance to see him every week in training, and certainly when we play games against the Galaxy. He's just a sweetheart. Yeah, he's one of the people you would call the heart and soul of the club, I think.
100%.
You know, because he's such a talented player and also such a lovely guy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he's helped me out a lot in pitching and stuff, like obviously what we'll go on about, like he's helped me so much and just helping me with confidence. And he was coaching our developmental game a couple of weeks back, so, and that was him starting as like kind of coach, and we were just so grateful for all the tips that he gives us. And 100%, such a great asset to the team.
Yeah, we're going to touch on that in a bit, but it's going to be interesting to hear more on that. Let's talk more about your beginnings in baseball. So you went to the field in Toulouse, you enjoyed the game.
Yeah.
You approached a random stranger in Tesco, potentially endangering your life and those of your friends. So talk to me about the first training session. Obviously, with you being a woman, and we've covered this before, and certainly earlier this year down south, Matt, there was certainly controversy to this effect. It can be daunting for a woman like yourself to to come to a field full of guys and blend in or find your place. How did you attack that, and how did you find the atmosphere was?
I think just myself as a personality, I don't really care. I mean, I moved from France to Glasgow and I didn't know anyone, so I was just throwing myself in it and just seeing what happened. So I think that's kind of how I approached the same. Fair enough, yeah, I was nervous because I was like, I'm probably the only girl here, but it's quite funny. Do you know the one thing that's funny during the games? They're like, right, come on, guys and girls, and I just laugh. I'm like, I actually don't really care. I just find it great. Obviously, I was the first girl in the Galaxy team. So being able to say that, like, I'm the first girl in the Galaxy team, just trying to recruit other girls to come, because it's a sport for everyone, and I absolutely loved it. And I've never had any issues with any of the Comets, any of the Galaxy or anything else. So everyone's been welcoming, so I've never had an issue. So it's just a laugh. I just absolutely love it. It's a laugh. Everyone gets on, and I just play my best, and I think I learn from everyone. Like, sometimes I would love to be just as strong as the guys, and I know I'm not, but it pushes me to be better, and it pushes me to want to be better. So like this year, when we started the year, I could throw a wee bit further than I could before, and the guys were like, look at you, like, you can throw further, and I'm like, I know. But yeah, I think I just learn from everyone. And if that's one thing, that if there's girls watching, don't be scared, because they'll probably learn from us and we'll learn from them. It's everyone's the same, so we'll all learn in a different way.
Can I ask, was there any reason why your friends didn't decide to join in with you?
Well, I did try and get a few of them involved, but there was a wee bit scared because they probably never played baseball. I don't know many girls that watched baseball or played. Jake's girlfriend played softball, I'm sure she did. But I think she had quite an injury or something. But I tried really hard. I was like, come on, come join. I've seen, because I also do some of the social media for the Glasgow and the Galaxy, and there is a few like girls that do message the page saying like, be quite keen to come, and I always say, look, I'm a girl as well, like, definitely come there, you won't be the only one. I think it's probably just, I don't know, taking that first step. Sometimes it's the most daunting. But yeah, hopefully I'm a friendly enough face, I hope, to be like, just come, it's fine.
Yeah, and I think as well, something that's easy to overlook is that the first step for anyone entering a baseball field for the first time is pretty daunting. I think, Matt, you can attest to this as well. I've certainly been there, where it's your first Wednesday or Thursday night approaching the field. You see this group of guys who have quite clearly been playing together for a hell of a lot longer than you realise. And you're always very self-conscious about what your next step is going to be. You're like, so obsessively trying not to mess up, that you're only going to make yourself more likely to do so. And it's hard to relax when you first start. And I think for a while, even afterwards, until you start to really learn the rules and learn the game, and obviously get to know your teammates. So I think oftentimes, yeah, like you would like to think that that's universally the same for everyone, but I do think that there would be that added element for a woman entering a field full of guys, particularly in this day and age, where we still have a lot to learn. And we've covered that, Jason and I, on the podcast. Certainly, there was the I've mentioned it already, the controversy with the image that was posted on Twitter that we don't need to get too far into today, because fortunately it did come to a reasonably decent end. It was unacceptable whatever had to come to that, but what I did want to ask is what your take was on that whole thing.
Well, not gonna lie, that was a bit of a tough part in my work career, so I kind of just blocked that bit out. But obviously, yeah, the fact that Doris stepped out as well was just terrible, and she was doing so much in the women's baseball side of things. And for that to happen when you've got people that are so loyal, it's horrible, it's heartbreaking. But I think the girls that were kind of trying out for the women's baseball team, it's definitely made them all grow like so much stronger together and prove a point. And that was always a thing at the start. They always wanted to prove a point that women's baseball is a real deal. Like, it's growing so much in Europe. Like, I know France is huge, and it's not because we're an island, we're the UK, that we're going to make it any different. So we really want to prove a point that we can just play just as good and probably better, who knows. I think that's how it's just kind of be conceived from now. Just, do you know what, we're just going to give it all, do our best, and absolutely kill it.
Fantastic, yeah. And I know for a fact there are certainly women in the league that are considerably better players than I am. Marina being one of them. I noticed that Paul Convoy has posted on the stream there that she's one of the best players in the league in general, not just for women, and that's a perfect example of what you're talking about there, Fiona. And she certainly owned me on the mound once or twice.
Yeah, so, definitely. Yeah. Incredible.
So let's get back to you. We've talked about the first step and the daunting first step. Let's talk about your development. You've touched on Jacob, and that's been more recently, in particular with pitching. Let's talk about your first steps in terms of your first steps onto the field in games. How did you go from first night to your first at bat? Talk me through that process and what was going through your head when you became a Galaxy member.
Well, I think, obviously, despite me being a Galaxy player, obviously at training we all play together. Everyone had their part to play. So everyone really chipped in and helped me. I think, obviously, Andy Sweeney, we get on really well. That we've definitely, helped each other out and stuff like that. And I think really everyone, JT, obviously, with all his knowledge and stuff like that, he just brings so much. You could literally just learn so much from him. And, funnily enough, because obviously, I don't know if you remember, Callum and Brian, we kind of all started at about the same time. Yeah. So what we'd done is we'd done a wee extra training session during the week, because we knew that during on the Thursday training when everyone was there, we couldn't do the positions or as much repetitions that we wanted to, because obviously we were we're behind everyone, so how are we going to do to make this a wee bit better? So we always tried to meet up, the three of us, and we would just do grounders, fly balls, practicing throwing from 2 to 1, 3 to 1 and things like that. So having them starting at the same time was really good, because we all kind of knew how we all felt, because we were well, we're the rookies of the team. We know how we feel. And being able to help each other like that was great. And obviously Thursdays, they were showing us the proper way of throwing and the good techniques and batting and everything. I think everyone really gave in as much help as they could. This year, obviously, we've got Zach and Miles, and everyone's helping us out, and honestly, we have like so much talent in the team that I've just, if anyone says something to me, I'll just be like, yeah, okay, right, tell me more. But yeah, I think I just take a wee bit from everyone, because even if people have played for 10 years or 2 years or 3 years or whatever, they all have their different experience and can give their wee bit of knowledge, and I'll just happily take it. But yeah, I have to say, my first at bat, I was wrecking it. I was like, and it was in Edinburgh as well. It was such a funny story. I can't remember which Edinburgh team it was, but anyway, I went up to the bat, and the captain runs the picture, and he says, "Guys, come forward, come forward." And the players were like, "Huh?" And he was just like, "Come forward, come forward." And John was like, what are you talking about? What are you doing? And he says, "Well, she's not going to hit as hard." And John was like, "Come on, man, like that's not something you say." And funnily enough, because that just got me like boiling, I was like, "Do you know what? I just want to show him now." I managed to hit it. Like, I can't even remember if it was past pitcher or like, basically I managed to get there safe to first base. And the first baseman was like, "Yes, that'll teach him." So it's just wee things like that, that just got me going. I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this.
Fantastic. So talk to me about your progress from there, obviously from your first at bat and getting on base. What positions have you played? And obviously we'll get into pitching in a bit, but first kind of half a season.
Mainly during the games, I would play right field. That's the main positions I would do. That is definitely one thing I need to work on. I just can't see those fly balls. Like, I just really struggle. Luckily, Mikey was there. He's great. Like, he's a great centre field. Like, just telling you, like, right, left, back, forwards. But yeah, it was a good reposition. Like, I was only playing like a couple innings towards the end, and I was happy with that. I'd only started playing like 2 years ago for like a month, if that. So I was just glad to be on the pitch and be part of the team and stuff. So yeah, so probably mainly right field. And then obviously this year I started the development game pitching. So
yeah, let's move on to that. Pitching, is that especially what you want to dedicate yourself to moving forward? Can we expect to see that mostly for you in development games, or what's your plans for the next for this coming season?
I don't really know. Like, I did really enjoy it. Like, don't get me wrong. See, when I finished that inning, I came back and I was like, "Oh, that was so stressful."
I'm sorry.
But the adrenaline of it, it was like really fun. And I totally understand now why the pictures, like when you see them like on MLB TV, like they do like, because I sometimes was like, "Right, Fiona, breathe." So I had to proper breathe. But no, it was fun. That was like my first time pitching. Like, I wasn't even on the mound properly. So I was like a few steps ahead, but I hadn't really done that much practice, to be honest. So being able to I only walked one person, and I was pretty proud of myself for having done that. I thought I was going to walk everyone.
Yeah.
So I only walked one person. So I was pretty happy with that.
Was it Craig you walked? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Because Gordon singled, then Craig walked, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. The night before, I was going around my head. I was like, "I'm just going to walk everyone. I'm going to do it. I'm gonna." Yeah. But when they called strikes, I was like, I can do it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Because for me, like, I obviously kind of link it a wee bit to basketball, because that's how I knew it. Me versus a pitcher is my 1v1. So I'm like, right, I need to try and beat this person. So that was my way. That's my 1v1. And having like Callum catching as well was great. Like, obviously, as I said, we kind of started at the same time. So having that person that I know and I've worked with was really good. Who knows? I would love to try second. I really do enjoy kind of being second base. So, and I think that's what the development games are there for. Like, you can just try around and just play these different positions that we probably wouldn't have the opportunity to do in the other games. So I think we all just have to embrace the ability to do that. But yeah, who knows? I managed okay in that first inning, so I'll keep giving it a bash until I feel discouraged, but I'll keep going. I'll be the next Marina.
It was a pleasure to face you in the box, Fiona. It was nice to be part of that. Your first inning of work on the mound, and I thought you did very well. And like you say, you've only practiced it a little, and you've jumped in head first. Both yourself and Chris Young, who I think pitched superbly as well. You guys, I was pretty proud of you both when I was watching you on there, because I've mentioned last week on the show, it takes a special type of person to go up on the mound and pitch. It's not something that I think I could ever do. I don't think I would be able to handle the pressure of being on the mound in a game.
You should say that, John, because like in Manchester, I know in our development team, pitching is something that we're looking for more people to do. And like you said, then I don't think I've got the bottle to do it. So Fiona, what advice would you say, or would you give to someone who's like maybe an outfielder or a different position player that wants to give pitching a go? What have you found the most challenging from adapting from fielding to pitching, and have you overcome it?
I think probably for me was obviously just the whole kind of like using your body more than your arm. I think that's probably just me as kind of like a newbie, probably using my arm a lot more. But like when I started pitching and using my body, and like that whole momentum that you get from that kind of that movement that you do, you're like, oh, this is actually something that you can do really well. So I think just embrace it. Just you can do it, and I don't think that people can't do it, because we all know how to aim. When we want to throw from like right field to second, you have to aim. So pitching's, I just don't know. I don't know if I'm just being like obviously just quite new and just feeling like it's the same. Just imagine it being the same. Just you're aiming for that glove and just go for it. And I mean, I'm still learning, obviously, but I think give it a shot, and then you can understand how it feels to be on that mound, and you can understand. Probably I'll have a better understanding being on the pitch and understanding the other positions. To just do it. But I did love the adrenaline, that way you just like, you've got that adversity, but you know that you've got the rest of the team behind you to support you if obviously the guys do hit, and it's knowing that you've got your aim but also the rest of the team covering you, whereas cool. Probably when you're in the right field, that's you. If the ball goes towards you, you're it.
Yeah. What's the best piece of advice someone's given you when it comes down to pitching?
I'm trying to think. So for me, probably just now, is keeping the arm behind the back and then throwing towards the front. So I think that's one thing that like has really helped. If you're struggling, just put your arm behind it, one arm in front, arm behind, and just go straight, and it makes it so much easier for some reason.
Cool.
Now we have some quite a few comments on the stream, so let's read through these. So Fox Lesaris, I don't think that's a real name, says, funny that we chose to play baseball in one of the roughest parts of Glasgow. I imagine if I didn't dress in uniform, my neighbours would assume I was up to no good. I think that's been a long-term issue in Glasgow baseball circles. Mr.
At
Chris
least
Kelly,
we don't have the group exercise classes anymore.
Yeah, they've finally been dispatched or dealt with by, who was it that went absolutely mental at them?
Callum.
Was it Callum?
Callum.
Callum just terrified them and they'll never come back. Yeah, that was quite a... So that we have our field, we have like a fixed backstop and a sign that says this is the home of Glasgow baseball. We have a lease on the field that Jason Stott, president of the club and my head coach, owns. But there was this exercise class that over the entire spring kept like meeting at our field and stuff like that, and like they quite obviously knew that it was a baseball field and that it was, that we were going to be using it for those purposes, but they would just like train on the diamond or in the
it's
field.
It's the
home
fact
plate.
that the guy had a dog and he let
Yeah.
it off the lead and the dog kept coming to steal the balls.
Yeah.
And we were just like, come on. But do
Yeah.
you know what's funny is like speaking to a few of the women's throughout the UK, like women's baseball players, apparently they've had like people just standing or sitting in the middle of the pitch having their picnic. And I'll be like,
Yeah.
you do realise like people, you're going to get hit by a ball and they don't care. And that
we had it in Manchester like 2 weeks ago. Just the families just planted themselves down in centre field, just started opening up the sandwiches and stuff, but they weren't even looking in the direction of the game. They had the backs turned to it. I was like, well, you can see what we're doing.
Yeah.
You're making
that
your own
just
bed there.
frustrates me.
Yeah.
Really does.
Enter at your own risk. So Fox is Mark the weatherman, Fiona.
I had to call him the weatherman on the chat. So this guy lives just next to the pitch, and every day he gives us updates on the weather. And I'm just like, Mark, I'm just going to call you the weatherman, and I absolutely love him for that because he's like, it's raining a wee bit, but the ground is fine. I love him.
My teammate Chris Kelly comments, best thing about training, just being a sponge for whatever folk have to offer. Just don't learn to scoop the ball from Mike. Cheers, John, for no mentioning my ground out. Good teammate. I think I just did, Chris. Paul Convoy says fantastic attitude to all, Fiona, and I would agree with that completely. The best way to approach the game is to relax and just to kind of focus on. It's one of those where the old adage, focus on what you can control comes in. Like baseball is more of an individual sport than any other team sport. You can only affect the outcome of a play that affects you or includes you directly. So to relax is, I think, rule number one that you really have to follow, or else too rigid, you end up making mistakes.
Yeah. And I think that's what's great about our team is that, and I think the Galaxy, we definitely have that kind of great team atmosphere that even if we do make mistakes, we'll pick each other up. And regardless of what happens, if it's a good outcome, then great, we'll all celebrate together. If it's a bad outcome, then we'll just be like, well, what did we do wrong? What can we do better next time? And we'll just pick each other up anyway. And that's what we need in a team. You just really need that. And I think that's what makes it so much more special and so much helpful for me as well. Knowing that the guys are so supportive, despite me being a girl, despite me literally having just started. They're like, no, you go pitch, you go do that. And at the end, they were like, you done amazing. And I was like, oh, okay. So having that is just great. And I couldn't have asked for anything better, to be honest. So
superb. Now, you've been in your very short tenure as a Glasgow Galaxy player, you've been part of a league championship winning team and a League and Cup double winning team at that. Yep. How, from your perspective, does the Galaxy pick up where they left off after the opening day loss, the Comets? How do you guys regroup and put number 4 in a row on the board?
Just as kind of any other team, as I said, we'll just learn what did we do wrong, what can we do better, and then just next time we'll do it better. I think there's no point just trying to think, oh, we did that wrong and just keep hanging on it, because it's just going to kill us more. So yeah, we've probably made a few mistakes, and there was a few things that probably didn't go in our favour, and there's a few things that we didn't, I don't know, various different things that came into mind and into game. But do you know what? If we keep dwelling on that, it's just not going to work. But I think that's one thing that the team, even before I came, the team were good at anyway. And yeah, we just have to keep pushing. That's one game, it's in the past. I'm pretty sure last season, obviously the one that I didn't start, the one in 2019, I think we lost against the Comets as well, first game. Yeah. So, yeah. And then we went to win the league. So,
Great attitude, yeah, that's a great attitude to take to it. And certainly what you said there about not letting a loss dictate what happens next week and the week after and so on is something that I think has really affected the Comets in recent years. In the past couple of years, we've had a couple of really hot starts to the season, and then maybe one game will go sour and we'll make a lot of errors, and then we've struggled to kind of get past that a couple of times, and in that sense, we've had a couple of seasons where we've ended up being a couple of games under 500 or just there or thereabouts, when a couple of bounces going either way could have led us to be potentially a post-season team. And I think a lot of that is the mental aspect, which is something that I think the Comets have really improved on since 2019.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see the Galaxy. Now, we've mentioned Luke before. We've talked about this to death, really. We've covered it to death, the Galaxy losing Luke. It's going to be interesting to see how the defensive brilliance of the Galaxy, which has always been a key aspect of those championship winning teams, and the pitching replacements drive the Galaxy forward. Obviously, there's a couple of really good teams in the league this year. The Devils look like they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. We've definitely improved. I think Aberdeen have definitely improved, particularly, the folding of the Express is one aspect of it, but particularly the return of Stephen Evans as both their kind of starting pitcher and coaching. So it's going to be the most open and tight league that I think we're going to see for quite a long time.
I think that's probably what's happened with COVID, because just out with baseball, just looking at other sports, things have totally changed. Like, some teams that you think would be winning have been losing, and you're just like, whoa, what's happening here? And you know what? Like, let's just make it fun and competitive.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure we all want that. So let's just make the most of it and enjoy.
Absolutely. Chris Kelly comments again, Galaxy will be okay. They don't need to face us every week.
It's fine. I'll come into the regular game and it will be feared.
I mean, I'm trying to be impartial here, Chris. So, I'm a broadcast journalist, damn it.
Well, if Chris keeps throwing from centre field to first base, he might not. That was one thing Sweeney kept telling him at training, don't do it. And then what did he do 3 times in a row? You'll remember, Chris. I mean, that's fine. Keep doing it against us. We're more than happy.
Let's move on to Fiona, Women's Baseball Scotland. Now, you guys have an all-star team now. Is that something that you personally are going to be involved in? And if so, to what degree? And what do you expect from that going forward?
Yeah, so it was something I was quite keen on doing, but because of kind of COVID and work and everything, there has been a lot of kind of, let's say, a wee bit of a setback. I had applied to do the women's baseball team as well, the tryouts for the UK, and I was so keen on starting it. I'd started off the workout plans and all those things, and obviously because at the start we couldn't travel to England, we couldn't do that, but yeah, it's kind of put we'll say that a few months past, I've just kind of put a few stuff on hold, so I don't think I will be joining the team, but it just looks amazing being able to, like, obviously there's so much talent regardless, like in Scotland for the women's. Edinburgh have got a few lassies as well. So we'll definitely, and because it's there's Casey as well, I'm sure her daughter's joining in, there's definitely going to be some women there to represent, so it'll be great to get that experience with the rest of England, and who knows, show a wee bit what we're worth and showing what we've got.
What are your ambitions then within baseball? You come across a really passionate, enthusiastic person about the sport, and it's a shame that you can't sort of get into the All-Star thing and the WUK national team. So what are your ambitions and your goals?
So definitely this year, I think I'm just going to focus on kind of Galaxy, just having time for what I can already. And then if I can try out next year again, that would definitely be something I would be keen for. I think this year has just been very tough work-wise. I was, as I said, kind of working in a hospital. I was in ICU like for a good month doing nursing shifts. That's something that I would never have thought I would have said in my entire life. So that definitely just kind of put a wee setback on things. But just now having the Galaxy, is really like kind of helping me focus onwards, and then hopefully next year I can look at going into to the UK, because, well, why not?
Yeah.
And I think having all that talent in the UK, and especially in England, they have all these like really talented coaches that can bring so much to us. So it definitely be a great thing to learn and bring up to Scotland as well.
Definitely. You mentioned as well, and we spoke a bit before we started recording about work, and you're not exactly in a stress-free industry, I suppose, in your profession. How important then is baseball to you and your sort of time away from work?
Massive. Yeah, massively important. I do have like a lot of my friends out with baseball, but baseball is my time to just relax, even though I'm still playing, but it is my way to relax. It's my sport to be able to just think of something different, just be able to disconnect, because you need it. And that is definitely something, obviously during lockdown, that was really tough when we couldn't play. You just didn't have that time to disconnect, and no idea what was happening. And last year when they played a few games, I could barely make any of them because we were working on weekends and stuff. So I was just kind of missing out on that part of this is my time, right? This is my time to just relax and chill out. So no, definitely just now, as much as I'm really working with like from a pitching just now and stuff like that, I just need that time with the team to just enjoy. We have that great we have a great laugh all together. We really do. And knowing that that's my time, I can just focus on something different is great. But I think sometimes I probably try and do too much, and that's when I'm like, oh, panicking. So I think that's why I was loving the UK part of things at the start. It was definitely something to get me going, but then I realised, wait, I'm probably taking on a wee bit too much right now, and I probably just have to go back onto myself and think, right, what do I want to do just now? Focus on the Galaxy, because I know them more. I know what they'll bring to me, and then after that, when I'm improving, I can look into working harder to the UK. But
and I would assume as well that the new development league will help someone with your schedule, your work schedule being so stressful, to be able to just show up, play a couple of innings before the National League game starts. I think that's probably, I think for me, I've lost a lot of time in the last couple of seasons to physical problems and also mental health breaks that I've had to take from the game. So for me, I think it's great to be able to learn a new position, play in a lineup with people who are more at the level I'm at the moment, because I've missed so much time. My confidence at the plate, confidence in the field, my timing and stuff like that, my stamina. I need to get them back to a place where I'm comfortable with that. And I think the development game is fantastic for that, to be able to do that in a very stress-free kind of environment. Yeah,
I think that's a quality idea as well. When I heard Paul talking about it on your show the other week, I was just like, more teams should do it, just to get the playing time, because a lot of players, especially rookies and new people like myself, just that opportunity might be there, and just have a couple of innings before a game could be massive.
Yep.
Because what it's like in England, they just like have like a lot of kind of
levels,
teams and leagues and stuff, don't they?
Yeah.
We just don't have enough numbers.
I do believe that is Paul's long-term plan for Scotland. This is pretty much being trialled this year for the first time. I think the first weekend of development games was a massive hit, though, so I expect this to be an idea that will grow into something more structured. And now, Matt, ask her who batted in the first earned run she ever gave up in a game.
What's that?
What John said. Who go on.
Who batted in the first earned run you ever gave up in a game as a pitcher?
Can't remember.
I'm offended. It was me.
Even I could see that coming.
Not gonna lie, I kind of like zoned out on what was happening afterwards. Like I was just like, I'm focusing on the pitcher.
Yeah.
The one that I remember vividly was, I can't even remember what happened. Do you know the one where there was absolute, like, the passing between the first and the second, and then the people were running, and then there was a score, and I was like,
yeah,
what is happening?
That was the sacrifice fly that I hit. It was basically what happened was I lined out to left, so it was a line drive, so it's probably not something that Gordon, who was on third, would have come home on. But Robert belted it from first, which meant that Craig then had to move to third. So Gordon was just like, shit, why is someone running at me? He basically had no choice but to go. And I think, fortunately, someone had either dropped the ball or overthrown it, or just staring in bewilderment at what was going on.
That was me. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, I was sort of walking back toward the bench and just kind of looking and just like, what the fuck is going on? But, I'll take the RBI. Anytime I get a chance to drive in a run, I'll do so. But
I mean, the thing is, technically, see, if we'd stopped the game and not stopped the last kind of points that had been scored, technically Galaxy won.
That is something I wanted to touch on this week on the show, because we talked about the rules for the Development League last week, Jason and I. Obviously, he's not here tonight, but there is like that additional kind of caveat to these games that I wanted to touch on this week. Now, it's kind of complex. So, Matt, the development game starts at 12 midday and runs for either 1 hour or 3 complete innings, whichever comes first. So we had played 2 innings, and the score, I believe, was 2-0.
2-1.
2-1. It was 2-1. I think it was.
No, because I scored. I scored the point for the 1.
Yeah, you're right. At the end, it was 2-1. Then we scored one more in the bottom of the second, so it was 3-1 at the time. Which was what the final score ended up being. However, in the top of the third, the Galaxy actually scored 3 times. But before the end of the top of the third, I believe the hour elapsed, which meant that the score then reverts to what the score was at the end of 2, because we didn't get a chance to bat. So I guess it's like the Development League version of home field advantage. But
That's
I was just very bewildered by it, and it took me a couple of days, I'll be honest, to actually understand that rule. So Chris has commented, I think we just all need to treat the games as 2-inning games going forward and make sure the victory is secured by then.
I think they're thinking for like the closer games, so obviously the Glasgow Comets and potentially the Edinburgh ones, if they're keen, we could start sooner. So like start at 11:30, and then at least it gives us that time to complete, hopefully, the 3rd inning.
Yeah. Kelly's commented that rule will bite us on the bum too, no doubt. I mean, I think now that everyone knows the rule, we'll have a bit more urgency about us in development games.
I don't know, to be honest, because I don't know. Obviously, we want to win it, but at the end of the day, the development game for us to develop. So we really just have to think of how we're going to get better, and if it's by playing. And like for me, for the pitching, I didn't want to rush it. I was just, do you know what? If people scored, then they scored. But I just want to focus on my learning. So I don't know. It's probably just me thinking like that. I know obviously we're keen on winning games, but I think the key is also developing the players and giving them the opportunity to learn in these positions. So if we can get more time, then all the better. I don't think, and I think probably JT and Jake would agree, they would want us to get that game time because we're here, they want to keep us in a way. Obviously, we want to keep all the people that we have, so we want to give them that time and give that development and feel like they are part of the team and that they are learning. So I think if we just cut it short, people just be like, I'm not here.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
that's not really us.
That's a really good point, and no, I totally agree. I feel the same way about the development game. It is about developing. Like, I've taken up the development games to develop as a first baseman and to become better at it and become more confident.
Yeah.
The score is very much secondary to that. I think it's called a development game for a reason at the end of the day. And it is just a chance to play an hour of baseball without too much stress, to give you a chance to learn. It's like learning it's like vocational learning, so to speak. It's like where you're just kind of learning by doing, and it's fantastic. And actually, Paul has commented the development game rules will be reviewed throughout the season. The longer the games go, the better, but there's a lot to consider. As you've said, the long-term plan is a single A division, so that will be interesting. And hopefully, we'll be duking it out next year in single A and not in development. But yeah, so I don't know if I want to read this one, Mark, because I don't want to upset her. But Fiona lost an RBI from that rule. I got in home and she had a hit chopped off. So it's a moral victory, if nothing else.
I keep saying, I was like, I totally did that on purpose. I just did the hit and then like Mark scored. I was like, totally did that on purpose. Because they're like, oh yeah, you try and hit towards left field. And I'm like, do you know, if I hit the ball, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a good laugh.
Yeah, it was good, and let's hope we get plenty more innings in over the course of the season. It's going to be interesting to see where you're going to be playing next time the Comets and Galaxy play. Whether you'll be pitching or you'll be you're taking your chances at second base. But thank you so much.
I might be third baseman and gunning it to first. That'll be me.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Fiona. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening.
Thank you for having me.
Ditto to you, Matt. Thank you so much for filling in for Jason. We don't have any games this coming Sunday in Scotland. It's Father's Day weekend, so week off for all the Scottish teams. Jason and I will be back next Tuesday to preview the following week's games, so please do tune in then, Tuesday at 9. Once again, Fiona, Matt, thanks so much for tonight. Thank you to everyone who watched. It'll be available on demand on Facebook as soon as I can get it uploaded. I'll have to download it first. And then the audio version will be out by the end of the week as well. So thank you so much for joining us. Check us out on Facebook. It's @CapsandPipes. Same on Twitter, @CapsandPipes. It's Ballcaps and Bagpipes on Instagram. We have linktree.com/capsandpipes if you can't be bothered remembering all those. And you can follow myself on Twitter @JohnCapsPipes. Fiona, do you have any social medias that you like to plug?
Just follow basically the Glasgow Galaxy one. I kind of run that one, so just on the Instagram @Glasgow Galaxy.
Fantastic.
You'll probably find that one, but that's not really that interesting.
And Matt, would you like to plug your social medias before we head off?
Yeah, you can find me at Brit Baseball Pod. Episodes launch every Monday with a roundup show on Tuesday featuring the lovely John McKellar when there's games to talk about. I just want to say thank you very much for having me on. It's been an absolute honour for a show that I've listened to and loved, and you and Jason, two people in the game that I respect. All of the Scottish baseball community. I love what you've got going up there. If you want to keep doing what you're doing, shine the light and light the way for the young athletes that are looking to get involved. Your positivity, energy is infectious, and you're a great player to have for the Galaxy.
Hopefully we'll see you one day, either up here or we'll be down in Manchester.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you're ever lost in the Manchester regions, I'll point in the right direction to get out of trouble.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys, and thanks again to everyone for watching and listening. Good night.